on our YouTube channel. That is Keith and Gessie Radio all around. Check us out as we deliver these moments in current affairs. So the Brazilian government plans that President Lula will resume his international agenda next week with his first trip to Argentina, where he will meet his counterpart Alberto Fernandez on the 23rd of January. In February, he intends to visit the White House, and in Portugal in April. China is the other country where he is expected to arrive in the first half of this year. When we were closing off last year, we did a very important interview with Uvatiswa Ndaga and her book, Unfiltered, her tell-all about everything that happened with her within the industry, but also some of the mental health pressures that she was dealing with that even forced her at some point or pushed her towards thinking of taking her own life. In a recent sit-down with King David's podcast after releasing her Unfiltered tell-all, Vatito spoke on concoctions she drank to try to end her own life, and she was allegedly ousted from the SABC for laying sexual harassment or assault complaints against a colleague. She says, I took Jay's fluid, Handy Andy pills, and Jick. So you can imagine when the contents wanted to come out, she said. After leaving the SABC, she also lost other acting gigs because of the scandal. In 2017, interview on Kaya FM, Ndaga recalled how she had cleaned the house before attempting to overdose. I knew this was going to do it. There was no way I was going to survive with all these pills and everything I drank. I remember that day I cleaned the house. I cleaned before I did all of this, so at least people come to a clean place. Ndaga told social media, who accused her of not taking accountability, that speaking out was a way of unburdening herself of her experiences. They think I'm narrating the story to be seen as a victim or a hero. How sad. Being labeled or being given some title is not going to change the fact that you experience certain things in your life, she said. In breaking news, Germany's defense minister, Christine Lamprecht, on yesterday, has formally announced her resignation. This comes after the German media outlets reported on Friday that the defense chief intended stepping down after a much criticized New Year's Eve message she posted on social media. In her message, Lamprecht had mentioned the war in the Ukraine with the sound of fireworks in the background. Members of the opposition Christian Democratic Union called out the message as tone-deaf and urged her to resign. Lamprecht is from the Chancellor Olaf Scholz center-left Social Democratic Party. Following the controversy, Scholz has said that she still has confidence in Lamprecht. In Durban, a male black mamba longer than 2 meters is believed to have spent a couple of nights in a young boy's room in Newlands West. On Friday the 13th, snake man Jason Arnold headed to the home at about 8:15 a.m. for his first call out for the day in Hillgrove area in Newlands West for a large snake inside the pantry. The family sent pictures, but it was extremely dark and Arnold could only make out the silhouette. So I can't actually see the color and I can't make out the size or anything like that, but in all likelihood, it's probably going to either be a Mozambican spitting cobra or a black mamba, Arnold says. The little boy's grandfather's name, unknown, said that on Wednesday, during the course of the day, his helper left the bottom window of the child's bedroom open. So we suspect during the course of the afternoon that the snake came into the house, and it was in our house from Wednesday afternoon. So we only noticed something wrong yesterday. That was Thursday, when my grandson's things on the table were all on the floor. So today morning, Friday, which is last week, the daughter-in-law phoned upstairs saying that she thinks she saw something in the front door, the grandson's bedroom. When I came down, I never saw anything. So at 6:30 a.m., she was leaving. She called me again and said she suspects she heard something rattling inside the pantry. He said that his daughter-in-law went off to work then. He also said that he started slowly removing things in the pantry, and when removed one of the items, he saw the snake coiled up in the corner. He then took the board and barricaded the pantry and called Arnold. He said that while he was waiting for Arnold, he kept guard of the snake even after Arnold had arrived. It is a mamba, Arnold said. Imagine having a mamba in your house for a few days without knowing it. Yo! In the south coast of Durban, of KZN, in fact, Ugu mayor and municipal manager have died 2 days apart. Her death came 2 days after the KwaZulu-Natal South Coast Municipality's municipal manager, Dr. Elliot Ntombela, died in hospital on Saturday. Municipal spokesperson Frans Zama said Mtiane died during the early hours of Monday morning. It is with deep shock and sorrow that we announce the untimely passing of the mayor and the municipality, Pumlile Mtiane, who was called to her eternal rest during the early hours of the morning. The dark cloud seems to have fallen upon our municipality during this period. We request your thoughts and prayers to be with the family at this time of loss. Details regarding the burial arrangements will be made and issued once they become available. On Saturday, Zama said Ntombela death as a result of illness. He had been in hospital for more than 3 weeks. His untimely passing has been a great shock to the municipality and the entire municipal council. Dr. Ntombela was expected to be discharged from hospital and resume his official duties in the new year. Ntombela joined the municipality in an acting capacity in July 2002. He was later appointed on a 5-year contract as municipal manager in October last year. Dr. Ntombela played a pivotal role in the municipality's administration, and we had high hopes he would use his expertise together with his management to steer Ugu to greater heights, Zama said. Lottery money that was used to fund mansions for high flyers Arthur Mufokate, Leslie Ramulifo, and William Huma. 5 luxury properties connected with the misappropriated lottery grants have been frozen by the Asset Forfeiture Unit. A luxurious mountainside mansion with sweeping views of Simonstown and False Bay, owned by the trust controlled by dodgy Pretoria lawyer Leslie Ramulifo, was described as a 5-star when it was put up for auction a few years ago. The view from the Cape Town mansion in rural Rustenburg in the northwest was a magnificent boutique hotel, also owned by a company belonging to the former National Lotteries Commissioner Board, William Huma. Lies in the picturesque foothills of the Khaswane Mountain Reserve. And in Midrand in Gauteng, a luxury guest house in conference facilities set in a large garden with a country feel is owned by a company belonging to Kwaito star and music producer Arthur Mafukate. The 3 properties have one thing in common. They were all bought using money from the lottery grants allocated for non-profit companies meant for good causes. The properties were frozen after the National Prosecution Authority's Asset Forfeiture Unit obtained preservation orders in terms of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, based on evidence gathered by the Special Investigation Unit. The act was promulgated in 1998 to combat organized crime, money laundering, and criminal gang activities. It also included a preservation order of a luxury home in a gated estate in Pretoria owned by the trust controlled by the former NLC legal manager Tsietsi Maselwa, and a nearly 14-hectare plot in Pretoria owned by the NLC board chairperson, business person and pastor Alfred Nevutanda, and pastor's wife Chilidzi. Both of these properties were also paid for with misappropriated lottery funds. The Special Investigation Unit has been investigating corruption involving the NLC since President Cyril Ramaphosa signed a proclamation in 2020, and that was in October. In terms of the order, the owners are prohibited from selling, disposing, or leasing, transferring, or donating, or dealing in any manner whatsoever with respect to the immovable properties. Investigations revealed how much money and how money had been misappropriated from five nonprofits that had received grant funding from the NLC of approximately 56.3 million rand meant for community development projects. These are South African art and developing associations, the Matieni Community Center, the Dinosis, the Zibisi Craft, and the Taung Cultural Music Arts Expo. The AFU was granted the preservation order after the ex parte application to the Johannesburg High Court on the 21st of December, which was the only made in public on the 13th of January. 26 minutes now before 10 as we continue. Several South African politicians and business people have instructed a legal team from 7 law firms to demand that the government stops cutting the country's power. If this cannot be done, they want an explanation. The group also wants fair compensation for the damage caused by rolling blackouts and for the government to play open cards about South Africa's energy crisis. The South African government and Eskom have until the end of the week to respond to the legal letter demanding that an end be put to load shedding. The letter is addressed to Minister of Public Enterprises Pravin Gordhan and Eskom CEO Andre de Ruyter. Eskom spokesperson Sikonati Mantshantsha has said that he would check on Tuesday morning to see if their legal department had received the letter. The power utility cancelled a media briefing scheduled for 5 p.m. yesterday due to a meeting with President Cyril Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa cancelled his plans to attend the World Economic Forum meeting in Davos and remained in the country to deal with the electricity crisis. Stage 6 load shedding was implemented on the 11th of January. Mantshantsha said Eskom would reduce this to stage 4 and 5 from today. And further afield in this beautiful but sometimes troubled continent of Africa, a group of women who were abducted last week, Thursday and Friday, in the north of the country by suspected jihadists are being searched for in Burkina Faso. The governor of the Sahel region said in a statement on Monday. As soon as their disappearance was reported, searches were undertaken to find all of these innocent victims safe and sound. All means are being implemented on the ground and air to find these women, a security forces source told AFP, assuring that aircraft are flying over the area to detect any suspicious movement. Some 50 women were abducted Thursday and Friday by suspected jihadists in 2 localities in the north and the west of the northern town of Arbinda, Sorgo said. While they were looking out for wild fruits, these wives, mothers, and daughters were unjustly attacked by men. We think the kidnappers took them to their different bases. This is the first mass kidnapping since the beginning of the security crisis, and it will be necessary to manage this situation well to avoid any drama or recurrence, said a senior officer close to the general staff. France condemned these kidnappings in strongest possible terms and called for their immediate release. In a statement issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Paris reaffirmed its solidarity and its commitment to Burkina Faso. The commune of Abinda is located in the Sahel region and under area blockade by jihadist groups in which it's difficult to supply them with food. Nearly 1 million people are currently living in blockaded areas in the north and the east of the country, according to the United Nations. That brings us to the end of our moment in current affairs. More news and more news items. Current affairs, motivation, entertainment, and spirituality, as well as your entertainment. All happening right here on Moment of Truth. Do not touch the dial. We are here with you up until 12, when Piwa takes over between 12 and 3, and of course DJ LT between 3 and 6 p.m. on Let's Just Drive.
This is KNR.